The story of Lazarus, recorded in John chapter 11, is one of the most extraordinary and symbolic miracles in the New Testament. More than just a demonstration of Jesus' power over death, this account carries profound lessons about faith, hope, and the revelation of God's glory in life's darkest moments. Lazarus, the man who spent 4 days in the tomb, not only returned to life but also became a living testimony of Christ's love and divine authority. The story is set in Bethany, a small village located about 2 miles from Jerusalem. Bethany was home to Lazarus and his sisters, Martha and Mary, who were close friends of Jesus. The deep relationship between Jesus and this family becomes evident throughout the narrative, making this miracle even more personal and significant. The account begins with an urgent message sent to Jesus. "Lord, the one you love is sick." John 11 verse 3. Lazarus is gravely ill, and Martha and Mary, in an act of trust and desperation, send for Jesus. They know he has the power to heal, and they expect his love for Lazarus to move him to act quickly. However, Jesus' response is surprising. This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory so that God's Son may be glorified through it. John 11 verse 4. Instead of leaving immediately, Jesus remains where he is for 2 more days. This delay may seem puzzling or even cruel, but it reveals a greater purpose. Jesus knows that Lazarus will die, but he also knows that his resurrection will display God's glory in a way that no one could imagine. This moment teaches us that even when God seems delayed, he is working out his perfect plan for his glory and our good. After 2 days, Jesus decides to go to Judea. The disciples, concerned for his safety, remind him that the Jewish leaders had recently tried to stone him. Jesus responds with a metaphor. Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. John 11 verses 9 to 10. Jesus makes it clear that his time is not yet over, and he will fulfill his mission fearlessly, guided by the will of the Father. When Jesus arrives in Bethany, Lazarus has already been dead for 4 days. This detail is significant. In Jewish tradition, it was believed that the soul remained near the body for 3 days, but by the 4th day, death was considered final and irreversible. By resurrecting Lazarus at this point, Jesus performs a miracle that defies human understanding and cultural expectations. Martha, upon hearing that Jesus has arrived, runs to meet him. Her words reflect both faith and grief. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." John 11 verse 21. Yet Martha does not lose hope and adds, "But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." John 11 verse 22. Jesus responds with one of the most powerful declarations in the Gospel. "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die." John 11 verse 25. Here, Jesus reveals his identity as the source of life and hope, not just for the future but also for the present. Mary, the more contemplative sister, also approaches Jesus in tears and repeats Martha's words. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." John 11 verse 32. Seeing Mary and the others mourning, Jesus reacts in a deeply human and divine way. Jesus wept. John 11 verse 35. This is the shortest verse in the Bible, but it carries immense meaning. Even though Jesus knows he will resurrect Lazarus, he shares in their grief, showing us that God is deeply compassionate and present in our suffering. Jesus then approaches Lazarus's tomb, a cave sealed with a stone. He gives a command, "Take away the stone." John 11 verse 39. Martha, still bound by human reasoning, objects, "But, Lord, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Jesus gently reminds her, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" John 11 verse 40. After praying to the Father, Jesus calls out in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." John 11 verse 43. These words, spoken with divine authority, bring the impossible to life. Immediately, Lazarus emerges from the tomb, still wrapped in burial cloths. The crowd, astonished, witnesses a man dead for 4 days brought back to life, a miracle that proves Jesus' power over death. This miracle has profound consequences. Many of the Jews who witnessed it put their faith in Jesus, but the religious leaders see it as a threat. Instead of believing, they begin to plot Jesus' death, fearing his growing influence. Thus, the resurrection of Lazarus becomes a pivotal moment leading to Jesus' own crucifixion and resurrection. The story of Lazarus teaches us timeless lessons. First, it shows us that God's timing is perfect, even when we don't understand it. Jesus' delay was not indifference, but part of a greater plan to reveal his glory and strengthen the faith of those who witnessed the miracle. Second, this story reminds us that Jesus cares deeply about our pain. His tears at Lazarus' tomb reveal his compassion and his willingness to share in our suffering. Finally, the resurrection of Lazarus points to a greater truth. Jesus is the resurrection and the life. This miracle foreshadows his own victory over death and serves as a promise of eternal life for all who believe in him. Just as Lazarus walked out of the tomb, we, too, can experience new life through Christ. Life that begins now and continues into eternity. 4 days in the tomb were not enough to stop the power of Jesus. Lazarus' story is a testimony that, when Christ speaks, even death must surrender. In our moments of hopelessness, this story reminds us that God can bring life, hope, and restoration where we least expect it. If you liked this video and want to know more about the characters that surrounded the life of Christ and formed the rich biblical story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and send this video to your friends. Turn on notifications to know when new videos come out.